Three more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 3 more days till... I don't want to finish. Welcome back, everybody, to 31 2000s horror movies for Halloween, where I'm counting down my favorite horror movies from the year 2000 to the year 2009. So at number 3, we have my favorite zombie movie from the decade, or infected persons movie from the decade. This is a very important horror movie for me in terms of 2000s horror movies, and that is 28 Days Later.
Right. I'll start working on them then.
So, 28 Days Later was a very important horror movie for me. I had not had a chance to watch a lot of horror movies that came out into the 2000s. I liked the horror genre, and I was watching more horror movies, but at the time, I wasn't old enough to see rated R horror movies in the theater, and my parents were not big horror movie fans, so I wasn't really able to watch these movies because in the theater because the people wouldn't let me get in there to watch them, and my parents wouldn't go in to see them with me. So I missed out on a lot of early 2000s horror movies when they were coming out. So it eventually got to the point where 28 Days Later was on DVD. I was able to rent it. So 28 Days Later was the first 2000s horror movie that I got to watch. And so that started my journey into 2000s horror movies, and it was a great, great horror movie. I was already into the horror genre at the time, of course, and I was enjoying the horror genre, but this was my kickoff to 2000s horror, and it was a great kickoff.
Hello?
So this movie is a zombie movie, or an infected persons movie. There's arguments, infected people movie and zombie movies, they're kind of the same thing. They're two sides of the same coin. We could put them in the same category. There's this virus outbreak in London, this virus outbreak in the UK, where these infected chimps were released by Greenpeace, and they had this virus known as the Rage virus. And it spread very quickly throughout the country. The movie really opens 28 days later after these chimps were released. And we have this character, Jim, who was in a coma. He's just woken up from a coma, and everyone's gone. The city is trashed. He has no idea what's happening. He was in a coma the entire time, so he's not aware of anything that happened in the past 28 days. But he soon discovers that there are these crazy infected people running around London.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that.
And this is a great sequence in the movie where he's just walking around and there's no one around. There's, everything's trashed. It's amazing how they were able to film this. Again, this took place in London, which usually has crowded streets, and they were able to make these streets empty for this movie, and it's so well done how they filmed it. I remember I watched this movie with my dad. Like I said, he wasn't big into horror movies, but he was willing to let me check this one out with him, and as we're watching it, he's seeing Jim walk around and there's no one else in London, and he's just like, where is everybody? Where is everybody? And there's this great far-off shot, and he sees someone walking, and he says, oh, there's somebody, and it cuts closer to reveal it's Jim, and my dad just yells out, it's him again! It's just a fond memory from my childhood. But anyway, he eventually runs into these infected people, and he eventually runs into the character of Selena and her friend, who lay down everything for them. It's a virus that turns people into these crazy rage zombies, and what's so scary about this virus is that the infection is instantaneous. If you get blood in your system or you get bit, you have like a minute to kill these people, or they're going to become a rage zombie and try to kill you.
Mark?
Wait.
That's one of the great things about this particular movie. In most zombie movies, or infected people movie, we're just going to call them zombies for the sake of argument, so deal with it. In most zombie movies, when someone gets bitten or infected by the virus, it takes them a while to turn. They don't turn right away. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It depends on the bite, and it depends on the infection. But most of the time, they don't turn into zombies right away. But in 28 Days Later, the infection is instantaneous. They did this a little bit in the Dawn of the Dead remake, but 28 Days Later did it first. But the infection is instantaneous. You know, someone gets bitten, you have to kill them, or they're gonna kill you. And this is another movie with running zombies, and since you could say they're infected people, it makes sense that they're running. But, you know, I'm one of those people who doesn't mind running zombies. There are times where I think slower zombies work better, and there are times where I think running zombies work better. And this is an example where running zombies work the best.
Get up!
The zombies are truly frightening because, you know, their eyes turn orange and they act very inhuman. But there is still a human quality to them, just because they do yell, and there's, you know, but they have this twitchiness to them that just makes them creepy. There's just something about the infected in 28 Days Later that makes them some of the scariest zombies in the zombie genre, or the infected persons genre. But then you have the relationship between the characters, which really does matter, especially in horror genres. I mean, there are people who are okay with unlikable characters in movies. It won't ruin a movie for me, but I prefer likable characters in my movie because it makes the tension more impactful. It makes the horror more impactful. One of the main things that makes a horror movie scary is not that the scary shit's happening, but that the scary shit is happening to these people that we care about. My favorite scene in 28 Days Later is the tunnel scene. When they're driving to the place where the soldiers are, they go into this tunnel, they end up getting a flat tire. And then they're trying to change the tire, and then the infected start running towards the car.
Running from the infected.
I love suspense. Suspense is so good. I love my gore, I love my suspense, but as much as I love gore, I love suspense a little bit more. And the tension in this scene is incredible, because, again, simple premise. They have a flat tire, they have to change the flat tire, while there's all these crazy rage zombies coming at them, and they're going to kill them. Simple setup, simple execution, done so well. You know, the zombies are getting closer and closer and closer, and you're thinking, get that tire on, get out of there! It just, simplicity works so well. I know I say that a lot, but simplicity can be so effective.
Get the tire on! Right! Get it on! Come on!
Yeah, 28 Days Later, it was the first horror movie I saw from the 2000s, and it kicked off my journey into the 2000s, and it was a hell of a way to kick it off. 28 Days Later, great zombie movie, or infected persons movie. I mean, most people have already seen it, but, you know, it's a good zombie movie to watch this time of year. You know, there's the classic zombie movies like Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and stuff like that people watch around Halloween. If you want to switch things up, put in 28 Days Later. It's good, it's creepy, it's got likable characters. Just, all in all, a good zombie movie.
Tango somewhere. Quiet! That's an infected.